If you're starting a charity or community organization in the UK, one of the first big decisions you'll make is how to register it. And honestly, this is where a lot of people go wrong without realizing it. They pick a structure quickly, get registered, feel relieved, and then months later they start applying for funding and keep getting rejected, without understanding why. So let's slow this down and talk properly about the three structures people usually choose: CIOs, CICs, and companies limited by guarantee that are charities. I want you to understand what funders actually prefer, not just what sounds easiest at the start. Now, let's start with the one most funders like the most, especially when it comes to grants. A CIO, which stands for Charitable Incorporated Organization, is usually the cleanest and most straightforward structure for grant funding. It's regulated by the Charity Commission, it's clearly charitable, and funders immediately understand what it is. When a funder sees a CIO, they don't need convincing that the organization exists for public benefit, because that's already built into the structure. CIOs are especially popular with funders because they don't have shareholders, they are not designed to make profit, and all the governance is visible through the Charity Commission. That transparency gives funders confidence. For most community groups, faith organizations, and charities delivering social impact, a CIO is often the strongest option from a funding point of view. Now, that doesn't mean CIOs are perfect or right for everyone. They do come with responsibilities, reporting requirements, and governance standards that you need to take seriously. But if your main aim is grant funding, particularly from trusts and foundations, CIOs are usually a very safe choice. Next, let's talk about CICs, because this is where a lot of confusion happens. CICs, or community interest companies, are not charities. And that one sentence alone explains why many CICs struggle with grant funding. CICs are regulated by Companies House and the CIC regulator, not the Charity Commission. They're designed to do good in the community, yes, but they're still companies, and funders see them differently. Some funders do fund CICs, but many do not. And even when they do, they often apply stricter conditions or prefer charities over CICs. The biggest issue is that CICs are allowed to trade and generate profit, even though that profit is restricted. For some funders, especially traditional charitable trusts, that creates hesitation. CICs can work well for trading models, social enterprises, or organizations that want flexibility to earn income through services. But if your long-term plan is to rely heavily on grants, especially from established foundations, CICs often put you at a disadvantage from day one. Now let's talk about companies limited by guarantee that are charities, because this sits somewhere in between. A company limited by guarantee can be registered as a charity if it meets Charity Commission requirements. When that happens, it's regulated by both Companies House and the Charity Commission. This structure is often used by larger charities or organizations that need a corporate framework, perhaps because they employ staff, manage contracts, or operate at scale. From a funder's perspective, a charitable company limited by guarantee is generally acceptable. However, it comes with more administration, more reporting, and more complexity. For smaller or newly formed organizations, that complexity can sometimes become a burden rather than a benefit. Funders don't usually prefer this structure over a CIO unless there's a clear reason for it. In fact, many newer charities choose a CIO specifically to avoid the extra layers of compliance that come with being both a company and a charity. So, if you're wondering which structure UK funders prefer overall, the honest answer is this: most grant funders prefer charities, and within that, CIOs are often the simplest and most attractive option, especially for community-based and faith-based organizations. What really matters, though, is alignment. Funders want to see that your structure matches your purpose. If you're set up to serve the public, reduce inequality, support communities, or deliver charitable activities, your structure should reflect that clearly and unambiguously. One of the biggest mistakes I see is organizations choosing a CIC because it feels quicker or easier at the time, and then realizing later that many of the grants they want simply aren't open to them. Changing structure later is possible, but it takes time, money, and careful planning. If you're at the very beginning, this is the moment to get it right. And if you're already registered and finding that funding doors keep closing, it may not be your project that's the problem. It might be your structure. If you found this helpful, This is exactly the kind of practical guidance I share here to help UK charities and community organisations avoid common mistakes and plan properly for funding success. I'm the Grant Maven, and I support organisations across the UK with funding strategy, grant applications, and making sense of the systems that often feel unnecessarily complicated. If you want more guidance like this, subscribe to the channel, and if you need direct support, you'll find my details in the description.